Hey guys, I apologize for this late posting. Our internet went down at Crandall Middle School. It's been all kinds of hectic. I wasn't able to log into our Google Meets on Thursday to meet with my 5th period. Hopefully I can meet with my 6th period tomorrow. We're all just kind of, walking on eggshells over here. We're trying to figure out how this works, and it is the first week of school, so bear with me here. So today is Thursday, August 20th. This is also going to be the video that you watch for Friday, August 21st. So if you're in 5th or 6th period, you should be watching this video. This is our first real lesson into Spanish, and we're going to be talking about el abecedario, or in English, this would be the alphabet. I think it is always very important to start by learning an alphabet in a language, because by learning how certain letters are pronounced, we can then better pronounce words and sentences that we're going to be going over in this class. So our objectives for the day: we will identify the differences between English and Spanish alphabets. We're going to learn how to pronounce the letters in the Spanish alphabet. We're going to associate images and words with the letters of that alphabet. And we're going to practice, we're just going to practice reading through the Spanish alphabet a little as a class. I know this is a video. I know we're not physically going over this alphabet as a class. And when I ask you to repeat these words, there's no pressure on you to actually repeat them, but please do, because if it gets to the point where you come back to in-person classes, I'm going to need you to be able to pronounce words and pronounce letters. So when we go through this, I'm going to be saying the letters and how they're pronounced. I then expect you in your room or wherever you're studying from to repeat what I say. That way we can all learn and master the Spanish language as best as we can. All right, so el abecedario, we can notice that the Spanish alphabet is a little different from the English alphabet. So we're looking through, we see A, B, C, so that's all normal. Then we've got this weird CH letter. We've got D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, that's all normal. Then we've got two L's side by side. We've got M, N, which is normal, and then we have an N with what we call a tilde. O, P, Q, R, we've got a double R. S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. So altogether we have 1 CH, 2 double L, 3 N with a tilde, 4 double R. 4 differences between the English and Spanish alphabet. What makes it even more confusing is that each one of these letters sounds different in Spanish than it sounds in English. And that's what we're going to go over today. So our first letter, A. In English, we would just say the letter A. In Spanish, it is pronounced A. So repeat after me. A. 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 Okay, so the first letter we have A. A word that uses that letter pretty frequently is the Spanish word for water. So we've got a picture of a glass of water over here, and the Spanish word is el agua. So repeat after me. El agua. El agua. Okay, so notice that we're not saying el agua, because A makes an A sound in Spanish. Then we have our letter B. And in Spanish, just as I've written at the top of this PowerPoint slide, the Spanish letter B sounds like be. So repeat after me. Be. Be. And our word that uses B pretty easily is the word for baby, which is el bebé. El bebé. So now we have A, B. Now we're going to move on to C, which is pronounced se. Repeat after me. Se. Se. So we have A, B, se. And our word for se is our Spanish word for hairbrush, which is el cepillo. Repeat after me. El cepillo. El cepillo. Moving on, we've got CH. Now in Spanish, we use a lot of words that have the letters CH, and we can't really combine say with the way that we would pronounce the letter H. So we have connected these two letters to make a new letter in the Spanish alphabet, and this one is pronounced che. So we have A, B, C, che. Repeat after me. Che. 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 And a word that uses this is all of our favorite candy, el chocolate. El chocolate. So this one is similar to English. If we see CH in English, it's normally a ch sound. And in Spanish, it's the same thing. But as a letter, we call it che. So we have A, B, C, che. Now we're looking at the letter D, which is pronounced as it's written up there, day. Repeat after me. Day. Day. So let's repeat everything we've got together. So repeat after me. We have A, B, C, che, day. And a word that uses day is el dedo, which is a finger. Okay, so all of your fingers are los dedos. Repeat after me. El dedo. Good. You're getting through this alphabet like it's a breeze. Next up, we have the letter E. And an E in Spanish does not sound like it does in English. It actually sounds like our first vowel. So the way you say E in Spanish is E. 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 And our word to use is el elefante. Repeat after me. El elefante. Next up, we've got F, and in Spanish it's pronounced efe. So repeat after me. Efe. 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 And our word that uses our letter F-A in Spanish, if you haven't gotten from the little Adventure Time picture off to the right, is fire. And to say fire in Spanish, we're going to say el fuego. El fuego. Okay. And I'm using these words just as reference so that maybe you can remember the letter a little better by seeing a word that uses it, or by seeing a picture that uses the letter or that uses that word. These are not your vocabulary words. You don't have to know these for the next vocabulary quiz. These are just to help you memorize the Spanish alphabet. So we have A, B, C, Che, D, E, F. Now we're moving on to G, which sounds like hey. So repeat after me. Hey. Hey. And it doesn't sound like hey whenever you use it in a word. That's just the way it sounds in the alphabet whenever you're going through the letters. So for example, the Spanish word for rooster is el gallo. It uses a G, but we don't pronounce it el gallo. It's el gallo. So a G in Spanish may make a G sound, but when we're going over the alphabet, we pronounce it hey. Next up is H, and we pronounce it in Spanish H. 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 And our Spanish word for the for leaf is la hoja. La hoja. La hoja. So very often, whenever we say the letter H in a Spanish word, what ends up happening is that H is completely silent. Think about the word to say hello in Spanish, hola. We don't say hola. We pretend that H does not exist. Sometimes you may need to sound out the H in a word. I'll let you know when you do. But many times, the letter H is silent in the word. Next up, we have the letter I. And the letter I in Spanish sounds like our letter E. So it's E. 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 And the word to go along with that is la isla, which means island. La isla. La isla. Next up is J. And in Spanish, the letter J sounds like jota. 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 And then used in a word, we've got la jirafa. La jirafa. La jirafa. So let's go through what we've got so far. A, B, C, Ch, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Now we're coming over to K, which is pronounced ka. Ka. And in a word, that would be la koala. La koala. Next up, we've got L, which is pronounced elle. 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 And a word for us to use for that is el limón. El limón. Hopefully you're with me so far. The Spanish alphabet's not too hard. It's just new pronunciations that you're going to have to get used to. I'll expect you to practice these at home a little bit, and then we will have a short quiz where you have to repeat the entire Spanish alphabet on one of the Flipgrid conversations, and that is how I'll take a grade on your learning the Spanish alphabet. So next up after L, we have one of the more difficult ones, the double L. Okay, and the double L is interesting because it can really sound like two different ways. The most common way that I hear it is eye. So repeat after me. Eye. Eye. So then our Spanish word for tire would be la llanta. La llanta. The double L makes sort of like a Y sound. Yeah, eye. But it could also make sort of like a J sound. A lot of people would pronounce this la llanta. So, use what you're more comfortable using. Both are fine. The letter is in the alphabet is pronounced aye, so you have to pronounce it like that. But if you're ever using it as a word, you could use a y sound or a j sound. Either one would work. La llanta, la llanta. But the letter is aye. Next up we have im, and that's pronounced imme. Imme. And our Spanish word for apple is la manzana. La manzana. Next up we have in, which is pronounced inne. So imme, inne. And our word for nose is la nariz. La nariz. La nariz. Next up, we have another weird one. We have the letter N with what we call a tilde over it. And this one is pronounced inye. 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 So hopefully this picture doesn't scare anyone of a black widow spider, but the word for spider in Spanish is la araña. La araña. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next slide so I can stop looking at this spider. Next up, we have O, which in Spanish sounds basically the same. It's just O. So if you know some of your Spanish numbers, then you'll know that 8 is el ocho. El ocho. P is pronounced pay. 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 And then our Spanish word for kite is el papelote. El papelote. So just looking at this word, we can see how learning the Spanish alphabet helps us by pronouncing words, because we know that P makes a P sound, and we know it's not papilote because we know that an A makes an A sound, an E makes an E sound, and an O makes an O sound. So it becomes pa, pe, lo, te. Next up we have Q, which is pronounced ku. So repeat after me. Ku. Ku. And our Spanish word for cheese, which all of us knows and loves, is el queso. El queso. So when you go to a Mexican restaurant and you order queso and they bring you that cheese dip, queso is the word for any type of cheese. It's just Mexican restaurants that bring it out as a cheesy side dish for chips. Okay, that's just unique to Mexican restaurants. Next up, we have an R, which we're going to pronounce one of two ways. It's kind of like the double L's. You get a choice here. So you can either use ere, ere, or ere, 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 ere. So then we have like the word for branch. We could pronounce it one of two different ways. La rama, la rama. This might be the easier way for people that are really new to Spanish. Ere and la rama, because it makes a hard R sound. If you already know some Spanish, if you're comfortable making Spanish accents, then you might want to use ere, and that would become la rama. So there's a little bitty tongue roll there. Rama, 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 rama. If you can use the second pronunciation, then this next letter is going to be so much easier. A double R, there is no way to write out its pronunciation. A double R requires a tongue roll. Not all of you may be able to do a tongue roll. That's okay, you're going to try your best. But this would be pronounced R, R, R. Okay, so if you cannot roll your tongue or you don't quite know how, just try to think of making a purring sound, kind of like a cat, the R sound. Okay, if you can make sort of like a purring sound, then just add some voice behind it and you'll get R. And this can be used in so many words. So like, for example, the word for dog in Spanish, a lot of people might say el perro, but that is wrong. That's very Texan. That's very not using any Spanish accent. It would be el perro. El perro. El perro. Let's do that one more time. El perro. Hopefully a few of you can do those tongue rolls. If you can, awesome, great job. If you can't, that's okay too. We'll keep practicing with it. Luckily, it's only Spanish 1. Now, Spanish 2 or 3, you may need to do those tongue rolls, so we need to be practicing this. Next up, we have S, which is pronounced ese, ese, And our word for this is going to be el sol, which is the sun. El sol. We're going to try to get through the rest of these really quickly. There's not too many more, and then we're going to go through the whole alphabet a couple times, and you will just say it with me in your room at the same rate that I go. That way you can get practice with me. Next up, we have the letter T, and in Spanish, we pronounce it te. Te. And a word to reference for that is tiger, which is el tigre. Notice there that I still use that little R roll. You can say tigre, that's okay too. But if you can roll your R's at all, we're going to go with tigre. Oops. Next up, we've got U, and in Spanish, we pronounce it U. So you sound kind of like a caveman. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh. And our Spanish word for grapes is las uvas. Las uvas. Next up, we have V. This is another one of those letters that you have a little bit of a choice. You could either pronounce it they. Repeat after me. They. Or you could pronounce it bay, just like the letter B. Bay. Bay. So then our word for cow would either be la vaca, or it could be la vaca, la vaca. W. Okay, this one's kind of a different kind of a weird one in Spanish. So even in English, think of how the letter W is sounded. Double U. So two U's. And we already know the Spanish letter for U is U. So to say W, we need to double that. So it is literally W. 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 There are some people that may prefer, because a W doesn't look like two U's, it also looks like two V's. So some people would say W. W. Either one is fine. I use W. I think you can say the alphabet a little quicker if you say W. Next up, we have X, which sounds like you're a French person asking someone for a kiss, so it's pronounced X. 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 And then a word to use for that is el xilófono. El xilófono. So just like in Spanish, that X sometimes can make a Z sound. Two more letters and then we're done. Y is Y. Or if you cannot quite do that R roll, Y. Y. And then our word for that is el yo-yo. El yo-yo. Last letter we have Z, which is pronounced zeta. 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 And our word for fox is el zorro. So hopefully you noticed there that there's a double R, so you're going to have to roll those R's for me. Zorro, which would mean fox. So now we're going to go through, I'm going to go through it 2 times, just going through the entire alphabet, and I ask that you do it at the same time I do so that you can get as much practice as possible. So we have A, B, C, Ch, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, Ñ, O, P, Q, R, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, so hopefully you're able to follow along with that. You can say your letters about the time that I take my pauses. You can keep watching this video over and over and practicing these. That would be really beneficial because there will be a quiz that you have to say these different Spanish alphabet letters on Flipgrid so that you can get a full grade for the first Spanish quiz that we'll have next week. So let's go through these once more. We have A, B, C, J, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, Ll, M, N, Ñ, O, P, Q, R, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now, if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to email me. Please feel free to jump into a Google Meet sometime. If you need a conference time, feel free to email me and I can set up a Google Meets just one-on-one so that we can talk about anything. But please rewatch this video as many times as you need to get the best understanding of the Spanish alphabet. I know this was a long video, especially just for an alphabet, but by knowing how to pronounce these letters, by knowing how to pronounce these letters, you will be able to better pronounce Spanish words. And it is a Spanish class, which means you're going to have to say a lot of Spanish words. So the more you know, the better you will be. I hope you all have had a wonderful day. I hope this wasn't too much for you.